So, letting people back into your life could be hard. But I've made some decisions to not let certain people back into my life. Like, for example, I stopped talking to my adopted parents. Growing up with them was a little hard because they were very obsessed with the thought that all the kids had to be boys. They adopted me because of my brother. But they had always wanted a little girl. My sister is 10 years older than me. So when she came and got adopted, I wasn't a thought. By the time she was 16, I was 6. So I was getting the backlash for whatever the fuck she did. And then they kind of like took it out on me because I was the only girl. But they didn't want to get rid of me because they really wanted my brother. And you know, the agency didn't want to do that. The agency didn't want to remove me from my brother because we were a year apart. Literally 1 year. I'm born in September 92. He's born in October 93. So, they didn't want to separate us. We were the closest in age. The rest is fucked up because I'm the only girl out of my real parents, like my blood parents. I'm the only girl. That's where it fucks up. So, growing up was like, boys are better. Boys are easier. Boys this, boys that. And it was said a few times in front of me. Like a lot of times. It was like brought up and said to people around me. So you're growing up with this mental state that you're not good enough because you're a girl. So you have to be a boy. Which is why it's fucked up with what the people are doing today with like recognizing your daughter is a boy or recognizing your son is a girl. I don't fucking care. I grew up with a fucking complex because I wasn't a boy. And the boys, you know, were treated a certain way. So when we went on family vacation to Florida, me, my husband, his first time going to my parents' house in Florida. So we go there, and my father, quote unquote, and my father, he was supposedly in remission for lung cancer, small cell lung cancer. It was going good. It was almost gone, whatever. But he still used that as an excuse to talk and act like a dick. So, he made some comments. He said some shit about himself. About how he could have done this or that with the different women that he worked with. Like, bad enough you already cheated on my fucking adopted mom while we were growing up. And made us go through hell for that as well. Because you had a fucking complex. You put me and my brother through it. Because you decided to do something stupid while my mother was away burying her father. But that's a story for another time. So, I already had a complex. And my father thought, like, it was okay to speak however he wanted to speak in Florida. And I'm only referring to them as father and mother because then you can understand. Because if I start calling them by name, you're going to be like, who the fuck are you talking about? So, he made a lot of comments, said a lot of shit, called me out my name, told me not to talk about his wife or his son. What the fuck am I? Thank you for proving me a point that I'm a motherfucking bitch and I'm not a part of your family. You know, there was always comments like, oh, if we die, all the stuff goes to your brothers and then they'll give you what's left over. So, like, I'm like, I don't really need anything from you guys because you guys are really showing me that I ain't shit anyway. You just had me because you really wanted him and you had no choice. Well, you had a choice. Your choice was bigger for him than me. So, I had that complex growing up, so now I don't speak to them at all at this moment. Because while we were in Florida, I brought up the many things that they had done and how they left me with men, etc. And they denied it all. So when I came back to New York and I had a conversation over the phone with my mother and stated what she had done and who she did it with and why. She blamed me, said it was my fault that she did all those things to me because of what I did to my older brother when I was 16. So what the fuck does what the fuck does doing something to me when I'm 13 have to do with something I did when I was 16? I did what I did when I was 16 because of what you were fucking doing to me. I used to have to bring my brother and his friends to the house to ask them for money so I can get money in my pocket. Because if they were a boy, she would give them money. Like, we had this friend, Tracy, and he was mad cool. But if we brought him to the house, him and my brother would ask her for money, and then she would give them money and then give me whatever was left over. And then they would, go outside and give me whatever. We would divvy it up and be, like, equal. So that's why I'm kind of more fucked up about it, because it's like, bro, you were there, and, like, you're my brother, and you don't even contact me now while I have kids. Cool, no problem. Like, we were mad close. But at the end of the day, I got treated a certain way. And a lot of people seen it. And they didn't like certain things that were happening. Like, my aunt seen I got treated a certain way. So when she came to Florida, she took me, only me, in the car, out shopping. She got me shoes, she got me clothes, and she let me sleep over at her house because she was like a snowbird. I'll never forget it. And I will always thank her for that. Thank you to my cousin too. Rest in peace to her. Because everybody's seen how it was for me. And then they wondered why I was such a tomboy. I remember coming home from high school one day, and my mother and my father's sister was in the kitchen. And my father's sister is gay. No shade, but that's what she is. And my mother turned to her and said, yeah, she's gay too. You guys play for the same team. And my aunt high-fived me. A couple years later, I came home pregnant with a guy. Obviously, you made that assumption because I was trying to be something that you wanted me to be. So, growing up sucked. Trying to be something for somebody else sucks. So, I guess my reason for cutting them off fully is because the denial was real. The separation was real. Like, don't talk about my wife or my son. Cool. It sucks to have parents that don't give a fuck. And then, because they lost a child, rest in peace, my sister, tried to replace you with them. They moved to Florida and replaced me with my cousin, who was also adopted, who I used to watch beat the shit out of my brothers, who her mom adopted, who she used to beat the shit out of. My aunt used to beat the shit out of my brothers. I watched it multiple times. So, you can only fucking imagine the trauma that I had to deal with being one of the youngest and only girls in the household. Surrounded by a bunch of boys. And surrounded by parents who didn't give a fuck about you. And put you in situations to make you lose. And then, when my brother did something like break a vase or a Christmas ornament, guess who got their ass whooped? Because they didn't do it. I obviously did. So I guess this message is just to say, stop trying to be what everybody else wants you to be. And be you. And fuck them all. Remove the toxic out of your life. Because my child is going to be born in a few months. And I ain't got time to deal with, did mommy hurt you? Do you want to live with Nana? Mom, yeah, mommy's a bad mom. Come live with Nana. I don't have time for that. What I do have time for is taking care of my kids, taking care of my husband, and loving my family. Because they don't get the abuse I got.